Hi, Gate family. I just want to encourage you today from a passage in the Psalms, one of my favorite, which is Psalm 90. I like this psalm because it's the only psalm that is ascribed to Moses in the entire book. And the way Moses begins this psalm really speaks to where I think we are right now. I mean, people are stretched beyond all imagination. I don't think any of us felt like we would ever be stretched like we're being stretched here. The COVID thing is spiking again, and we say, when will this ever end? We've got elections coming, and there's a lot of social unrest. People are rightly concerned about the loss of liberties and freedoms. People are concerned about the tensions between people groups in our country. There's just a lot to be anxious over, and then you add family issues and fear for our employment. I mean, if we go into a recession, what's going to happen to my job? And so we can be facing a lot of anxiety, a lot of angst, maybe offense, anger at the situation. And what Moses says here, how he starts his psalm is so cool. He says, "O Lord, you have been our dwelling place." A great translation of the Hebrew is, "Lord, you've been our refuge. You have been our tent of safety." And then he goes on in this first verse and says, "And God, before the universe was created, you are God from everlasting to everlasting." Now, what he's saying there is that, God, it's your nature to be your refuge. In fact, because before the world began, before you even created the universe, you were this way. He is saying that in God's very heart, in his very character, he longs to be a refuge. From all eternity, it's been his character to be a dwelling place. It's been his character to be a refuge. God doesn't just provide himself as a dwelling place for you. It's not something that he just does because he's compassionate towards you. He provides a dwelling place for you. You can come to him with your needs, come to him with your problems, come to him with your pain and your wounding, and just pour your heart out to God. You can treat God like a refuge because that's who he is in his deep inner being, in his nature. He is a refuge. So I want to encourage you, don't be reluctant. Don't hold back and say, well, I'm just so stressed out, or I'm just so angry over things, or I'm just so upset over things. God doesn't want to hear me. He absolutely wants to hear you. He wants to be your refuge. I mean, what good is a refuge if you have to deal with all your stuff before you come into the refuge? Like, look, I can't really access as my tent of safety here, God, unless I get into a nice frame of mind and peace and joy and I deal with all my stuff. No, the idea of God being a refuge is that you get into his presence. You come into his arms. You pour out your offenses to him. You pour out your angers to him. You pour out your anxiety to him. He is a refuge to you. It's in his place of refuge that you can rightly deal with all this stuff and come back to a place of peace. Don't be reluctant to let God be a refuge to you, because that's who he is, and that's the way he's been for all eternity. And you can come right now with worry, anger, whatever it is, just pour your heart out to him. And I trust that you can be encouraged today. God bless.